Warning, the following podcast does have an explicit tag, and we would hate to disappoint it. You're listening to Not Another Atheist Podcast, the Ramble Without a Cause podcast that breaks down issues in the secular humanist community and tries each week to push the limits of the explicit tag. I'm your polite Canadian Keith, and joining me as always is a New York born and bound bundle of attitude, Jen. Jen, thank you as always for joining me.
Okay, yeah. Sorry that we've had such a long, hiatus, you can call it. The holidays are just fucking busy when you have a kid. Especially a kid that's finally understanding the concept of gift giving and that there's attachment to the winter holidays with different religions, and we're sitting there and sorting that out. And depression is kind of a bitch, especially when you're feeling really overwhelmed. I'm sure some of our listeners can identify with this, and you kind of just do what you got to do to get by, and it's like anything else, you just don't have the energy for. And I was kind of going through that with it, so yeah.
I'm sure they've come to expect it from us right now. The last several months we've been pretty sparse with the episodes.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know if it's safe to say that I'm kind of coming out of the fog, if anyone that does kind of suffer from not major depression, but depression kind of gets, but I'm just learning to kind of drive myself a little bit better and just kind of allocate the madness a bit better.
Yeah, depression's a bitch.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
And I swear to God, if somebody's like, you should get out and run, I'm going to run a fucking brick to your face, alright? I'm not at the point where I need to be medicated or be on anything for it. It's just, it's not like a bipolar thing. It's just, I think it's seasonal, a lot of it with me as well. So, yeah.
A lot of it comes in waves. There are varying types of depression.
I'll admit I'm not real.
Having a psychology episode that's...
Yeah, this is Keith's...
have an old friend back for that one.
This is Keith's little forte of knowledge, so I'm not all educated on this shit.
Well, sort of. I haven't really studied it since I updated the book, but nonetheless, I think we've got some stories to get to. It's going to be a nice, short, sweet little episode, just to kind of, say thanks for still listening to us, and we're going to kind of dive into some of the shit that's happened this year. But first, we have some delicious irony to talk about, and this is a really fascinating story because I keep getting headlines, right? So my phone will go off and I'll get headlines, and it's proof that you really need to read this. You actually need to digest all that's in the story, because you might read the headline and go, oh, well, fuck, that's hilarious. And then you read the story and go, oh, there's actual problems here. Because when I first read that Canadian sisters are accused of blackmailing Nigerian businessman,
that makes me seriously giggle.
Yeah, my first thought is, wow, that's ironic that women are finally getting theirs against a
Where's Alanis Morissette when you need her?
But when I pull up the stories on the intertubes, turns out that they've actually gone so far as blackmailing politicians, videotaping them having sex with various powerful figures, and even putting them on a website, and then holding the guys that they're meeting, more or less, or let's try that thought again. They're extorting money out of these guys via this website. And while I can't help,
well, we all haven't sat here and thought,
feel bad that
I done this
somebody's. Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly big on blackmailing people, but. I can't help but wonder, if these men didn't want to get conned, maybe they shouldn't have made so much money. Maybe they shouldn't dress in such nice clothes.
Ooh.
Just
maybe they shouldn't have sought political office.
Maybe they shouldn't have talked to these women,
Maybe they shouldn't have put themselves in such a public eye.
It's,
And fucking
sorry,
disclaimer,
but we have to ask, how much are they to blame?
Fucking disclaimer, we're totally fucking being smartasses about this and pointing out victim shaming that we've all seen with women in rape culture. In no way are Brock Turner. In no way are we saying that these men deserved it for their actions. We're not saying this at all. We're disclaimer. Okay.
Yeah, no. That's
before we get like sad. Third wave fucking Lena Dunham feminism on our ass now. And yeah, fuck those bitches. Yeah, no fucking disclaimer on that shit.
I don't know what 12 of those words mean, so I'm.
It's kind of like the, you know what? Let me misandrist. I fuck misandrist and Lena Dunham and her fucking white feminism bullshit. So, fuck her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I at least know a little bit about intersectional feminism and how it isn't just about, women, but how it can interplay.
Well, there's a wave of
skin color
white feminism as well, to where it's mainly to promote the advancement of white women, and women of color are largely left out of the movement with these people. The people that need feminism the most and need equality the most because they're statistically at the most disadvantaged. They're statistically the most, disadvantaged people. I'm already having, I want to punch multiple people with bricks today. Let's not send me on a homicidal rage before the year is over. Thanks. Can we at least wait until, 2017? Start it off with a bang.
So setting aside the delicious irony of billionaires being conned by women, why don't we take a step back and take a look at the dumpster fire that is 2016? Yeah, that pretty much sums it up right there. One sigh is all it takes.
Aside from world events and celebrities dying, it seems that, everybody personally went through some deep fucking really bad shit this year. Or, maybe not even, it was bad shit, don't get me wrong. But kind of this, life-changing wave. And it makes me wonder, we really need to start studying the universe, because maybe we're going through, one of those atom shift shits. You know what I'm talking about? Where things in space are just no, we don't like the feng shui in this fucking room. Let's change shit around. And maybe it's kind of throwing everyone off. There's just something wrong with the fucking alignment, and not in a fucking astrological you're so being a bitch because you're a Virgo, no Karen, you're a fucking cunt way, but maybe it's something shifting, because even the earth is fucked up, weather patterns are fucked up, and shit.
Global warming.
You know what I mean, though? Yeah, but it's global warming was gradual, and it's hey, here I am, Maybe it's something magnetic that's throwing fucking everything off. I don't know.
Who knows? But we can all agree.
Bad this year.
Yeah, we lost a lot. We lost a lot of big names. Although, and let's be perfectly clear on this, because there are several pedants on my Facebook wall who are really starting to grate on my nerves. First things first. No, nobody's saying 2016, stop killing people, is actually thinking the year is behind the murders. There might be people who believe in numerology who think it's just a sign of something bigger to come for prophecy, whatever. But it's not the same thing as thinking 2016 killed those people.
No, it has nothing to do with
I thought that kind of went without
numbers saying. Or no kind of shit like that. I personally think that, especially, within the earth and just within human history, we kind of go through these phases, like a life cycle kind of deal, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were kind of passing through another repeat, just phase of humanity. Because you look at the history of the world, World War One, and then shit was cool, and then World War Two, and then shit was cool, and then Vietnam, and then shit was cool for a while with the U.S. You know what I mean? And then boom, shit went crazy, and maybe we're just kind of ramping back up to a kind of this crazy phase in human history. And if you really take a look at human history, you can see collectively that it kind of rises and lulls like this. And people change, and these changes like this and radical shit happening like this usually comes on the brink of some kind of leap in humanity. Religious, technological, migration, shit like that. It just kind of sets up, and it's just kind of, the earth and humans kind of getting in sync with each other, and shit like this just happens. There's bad fucking periods in human history, and is probably one of them. And it sucks that we all grew up hearing and learning about the bad shit in human history, and it sucks that it's our generation that has to live through it again. But the kind of rising hope is that maybe our kids won't, because we're going through it now.
I'm not sure about any of that, but
it's just kind of like it's like history repeating itself kind of deal. It's not cosmic or no kind of shit like that. It's just human nature.
You can find the contact info at the end of the show if you want to correct us on any of that.
Yeah, please do, because my fucking brain is fried today.
Another interesting thing that I found is that statistically speaking, there actually have not been more celebrity deaths this year than any others. In fact, it actually looked a little low.
Actually, I think there was a sharp increase from last year. Oh
no,
I think it was like
2013 was higher, significantly.
Well, I mean,
higher.
2013 really fucking sucked when it came to celebrity deaths. I remember that shit. But I think it was only like, I don't think it was like more like large. I think it was like 90 celebrity deaths last year to where it was like 120 this year. It was nothing really, holy shit, they're fucking killing everyone out here type of shit. But you ever notice that this shit tends to happen at the end of the year? Like there's always a mass die-off of celebrities in like the month of December. Have you ever noticed that? I have.
No.
It always seems to be like between Thanksgiving and Christmas is what I notice is that, well, Thanksgiving and the winter holidays, excuse me. U.S. Thanksgiving and the winter holidays. That's when like the bulk of people seem to die for some reason to me. It's the most bizarre thing.
Okay.
It's like our families have completely pushed us to the fucking brink and we just can't deal with life anymore.
I'm sure there's a sociologist out there who might be interested in that.
In my life, that's usually when I notice the bulk of deaths happening is between U.S. Thanksgiving and the winter holidays.
Interesting.
It's weird.
So some of the notable deaths this year, obviously, David Bowie, Alan Rickman, which was a great tragedy. I'm not gonna lie. There was Prince, Muhammad Ali.
Did he die this year? I thought he died like years ago.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like his brain has not quite been there. I can't remember if it was Alzheimer's he had. But
no, I think it's
severe brain damage.
It wasn't
because I saw him at the Salt Lake. I can't remember, and I mean, it takes like 30 seconds to pull it up on.
That's what I'm doing now.
But anyways, like you saw him at the Salt Lake City Olympics, I believe it was.
Parkinson's.
And he just did not look like himself. And you could tell just the tremors in his hand alone. And yeah, it's just incredible. Anyways,
he wasn't exactly young either. I mean, it wasn't like he was
no surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of saw this coming. It's like, I mean, he was 74 when he died. So yeah.
There was also Anton Yelchin from the rebirth of Star Trek and several others.
I remember Anton Yelchin from way before Star Trek, and the first movie that really made me take a step back and really look at him was Alpha Dog. He was phenomenal, and
that's right too. He was the kid.
Yeah, and it he kind of played this dumb teenager, and it was the scene right before his death that I was like, holy shit. And there was just something about that kid. Like, he was like fucking way wise beyond his year. I loved him. I thought he was amazing. And that was just a freak accident.
We also lost Gene Wilder. That's another great comedic tragedy. A musical and poetic genius was taken from us, Leonard Cohen. That hit close to home for me because I love his music.
You want to laugh? It was actually the song Hallelujah was the first time I had ever cried listening to the song.
See, I didn't even know that was originally done by him until after Shrek.
Really?
Of course, I was like...
Well, everyone seems to be more familiar with
I was like 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, everyone seems to be more familiar with the Jeff Buckley version, which is, I mean...
I was, and then I found the Leonard Cohen version, and I was like, oh, I love it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Jeff Buckley's version is... But, yeah,
it's beautiful.
Hallelujah was the first song that I ever sat and listened to and actually, like, goosebumps and cried.
And if anybody tries to come at me with Katie Lang's version, I will punch them in the throat. I'm just saying.
That's like people who... Nina Simone's feeling good and they're like, oh, I love Michael Bublé. And I'm like,
You need
You
to
should
die.
just slit your throat right now before you die.
Slowly, painfully. I'm not sure how I feel about this one because we already mentioned Prince.
Oh yeah, we did. I mean, you want to talk about a musical fucking genius.
This one, 'cause I'm not gonna lie, his Super Bowl halftime show was fucking beautiful.
But no, it was beyond that. He was extremely talented in many instruments. He was an extremely talented songwriter. He was an extremely talented producer. He was a fucking...
And then he went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
No, I mean, he'd always been... I mean, he was JW, so he was always kind of a little...
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Musically, he was the standard for a very, very long time.
Another death that I'm not sure how I feel on, simply because I haven't looked into the whole thing enough, is Fidel Castro. Because I know
I'm not
there's
going to sit
controversy
here
on either side.
and say that he was a great man. I'm not. Because, I
No.
mean, there are many things
He
that
was
he
a bit of
did
a
implement that were amazing. But he was a dictator, and he did seem to get some kind of sick pleasure in keeping people under his power and kind of masked it as socialism. Which, yes, his concepts, many of his concepts were socialist in basis, but it was a dictatorship. What hit me with that was he was a legacy, he was an era. And he was kind of the mark of our parents' generation ending. And it's, it's I mean, we're going through our own shit now with, the war on terror in Syria and everything else. And, we're going to be the generation that's remembered for that. And he was really the last of Cold War. He was it. And it was kind of this era in history to me that was finally done and put to rest when Castro had died. That's how I felt about it. That the old way, the old of the world was finally come to pass. And it really kind of ushered our generation now onto the stage. Because there's nothing left and remaining from the old to say, well, what about this? This is still here.
Nothing
this is
left of
not.
the old guard.
Yeah, we are now, all in our glorious fuck-ups are now, is now the world, and the old has now gone. And that motherfucker, how many people have been trying to kill him? He outlived them fucking all.
All I remember is I tried to kill him in a video game version of Godfather 2. And he survived the rat bastard.
Exactly. So, yeah, come on, And even though, he hadn't been in power for a long time, but it was more of a, it would be like if Hitler had lived and he had passed.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? It would have been like if Stalin, had lived and passed, or Mussolini or something like that. It's just this end of a historic era, and the Cold War is such a huge part of world history, and now that is completely gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
And that was the significance of me with that.
Somebody who's never going to dance again because guilty feet have got no rhythm is George Michael.
Another fucking
was that
brilliant
too soon?
artist. He was a brilliant artist, and he was a good person. He did a lot of contributions anonymously that helped out a lot of people. He was a good person, with his faults and all. He was a good person, and it's sad to see someone like that have to go with everything going on.
But another death that it surprised me, not because they died, but simply because I actually thought they died long ago, was Zsa Zsa Gabor. I still don't even know what the fuck she did.
She was kind of, her and her sisters were her and Ava were kind of the first socialites in
Great.
popular culture. And I mean, they both became actresses. They and with long-standing careers at that, but there's a lot of shit that I question with her husband with that. Like, he kept her locked up and shit. She was losing legs and shit, and I really fucking wonder if maybe she did die a few years ago and he was just kind of collecting checks.
Well, I remember Dennis Leary wrote about her in his one book, and he was talking about her husband who was having trysts with Anna Nicole Smith or something like that. I don't know.
The Count. Yeah, this fucking was nuts. But
yeah.
She wasn't exactly
And
the fucking sane fucking Sally either. You know what I mean? She was.
yeah.
I mean, she was the one that got arrested for hitting cops and. Don't you know who I am?
Great.
Yeah, like she was fucking nuts.
Sheesh. But the last two, because we're recording this on the 29th, the two most recent deaths, and one of them hits me a little close to home, not personally, but simply because she was part of a franchise that I absolutely love. Carrie Fisher and her mother, Debbie Reynolds.
And you want to laugh? I was talking to my mom when Carrie Fisher died, and Carrie Fisher and her mom were known to have an extremely tumultuous relationship, and they were actually estranged for about 10 years. And after they had mended it, they had just become very close. And I said to my mother...
Yeah, that's what I had heard.
...that I don't think Debbie Reynolds is going to go much longer without her. And she died the next day.
Well, according to the gossip, grapevine, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I'm on a lot of cold meds, so sometimes my metaphors aren't going to make sense. It's fine. As apparently Debbie had the stroke while working on the funeral arrangements for Carrie, and what I heard, and this is strictly hearsay, so it's possibly wrong, was that apparently she said to her son she wanted to go see Carrie. Yeah.
And I said that to my mother. I said, I don't think she's going to go.
Yeah. What's funny about that, though, is, talking about sad death. Funny. Okay. As I got a notification about Debbie Reynolds dies day after Carrie Fisher, and I of course, that's all I saw on the headlines, because again, I get headlines on my phone.
No, I get them from CNN.
If I want to know what the
I get them from CNN.
I get BBC or whatever the fuck.
I don't know if BBC does that. I got
briefing is from. Yeah, they do. It's great. And I kept wondering why the hell they were talking about Carrie Fisher. So I get home, and before I had even gotten out of my car, I pulled up my phone was sitting in the cup holder, so I pulled it out just to check and see if I'd missed any call or any texts or whatever. And I saw the headline about Debbie Reynolds, and I was like, all right, why the hell do they keep talking about Carrie Fisher? So first line of the paragraph was mother of Carrie Fisher, Debbie Reynolds, and I was like, oh, okay. And I actually didn't realize that Debbie Reynolds was in Singin' in the Rain, which happens to be one of my fiance's
Right, she was also
movies.
the unsinkable Molly Brown, which is one of my favorites.
So I came in, and she's sitting on the couch, and I said, did you hear who died today? And she goes, no, who? And of course, me being an idiot with dyslexia, or I'm going to pretend I do, because that's the only way I can get away with mixing up my words so much. I said, Debbie Fisher, and she goes, who? And I go, Debbie Fisher from Singin' in the Rain. She goes, you mean Debbie Reynolds?
Debbie Reynolds?
Crap, I confused them. I said, yeah.
Well, after Eddie left her for Elizabeth Taylor, I don't think she wanted to be mentioned as Debbie Fisher anymore.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that. Kind of sad. But since we've only...
another death I wanted to touch up on, which is really odd. You know, like, not many people really were, like, shocked about it, but Doris Roberts, the mother from Everybody Loves Raymond. The mom from Everyone Loves Raymond.
Wait. Hang on. What's her name? Doris Roberts?
Doris Roberts. Also died this year. You look at her, you'll know who she is.
Oh, holy shit.
And it's only because of the fact that...
I just watched a movie with her in it.
Her look and her demeanor, she was like almost mirroring my grandmother. So she was kind of this like comfort. I wouldn't say comfort, but like this identifying figure to me. And I was really upset when she died, because that was like... You know, it was kind of like, oh, you know, I mean, she almost looks, she doesn't really look like my grandma, but just something about her was very much like her. I was like...
She's very grandmotherly.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
see,
no,
it's
but
funny. I
it's
remember
specifically my grandmother, and I'm like, fuck this year, Suggs.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing her as kind of like, I'm pretty sure I saw her as like an old bitch in a couple of roles, and then I saw her in this Christmas movie, because... We watched Christmas movies like 24/7 for the last 3 weeks.
I didn't even think we turned on one this year.
She played I think she played an angel or something like that, and she had to save the spirit of Christmas at this toy store because it was the pillar of the community. At least that's what I think.
I mean, that's pretty much the gist of like every fucking Christmas movie.
But let us talk about the biggest train wreck. What I think is the biggest train wreck of 2016, and I tried recording my thoughts on it, but I just couldn't get anything other than incoherent babbling together going. November 8th sucked. How was that? That was fun.
Do you know what November 8th was? England's like...
What the fuck?
No, England's like, yeah, we just pulled out of Brexit. Y'all can't beat this. And New York's like, I'm sorry, and the United States is like, hold my beer.
Really?
The United States is like, yeah, hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Let's see what I can do.
Like, hold my beer and let me show you some America. Like,
Yeah.
what? The fuck is going on? Like, really?
Like, I honestly, like, I have no idea what the fuck people were thinking.
Like,
I mean,
you know, like Groundhog Day, when you wake up and it's like, what fucking universe am I
it's the same
waking up
shit
in?
over and over again.
Yeah, it's not even that, but it's like, when you kind of just wake up and you're like, did I wake up in some, like, did I travel through some fucking space-time continuum riff and I'm in some alternate universe? Where you kind of wake up and everything looks the same and everything is the same, but it's just off. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like the parallel fucking universe theory. It's like that's exactly what this entire year has been for me. That I wake up and I'm like, is this home? Like, this entire planet, is this home? Did I get lost somewhere? What happened? It's like,
Yeah.
what? But it's Donald Trump being elected, to me, wasn't just about him being elected. It's this kind of trend that we're seeing around the world, where, you know, the Brexit event is what I like to call it, was largely fueled by quote unquote alt-right.
Can we just call them Nazis?
Yeah, I know.
Can we just call them neo-Nazis?
And it was fueled by nationalism, and it was largely run on the immigrants are taking your jobs, and the terrorists are here, and the refugees are flooding, and they're going to kill us all, and they're taking over our cities, and we need to, you know, reclaim our country back, and this is why we need to separate from the EU. And it's this global shift of returning back to that way of thinking. And I don't know if, because, you know, I mean, growing up you can't deny that our generation has seen some of, if not the most progress in human rights and progressive understanding. You can't deny that. And where I thought we were making these steps, and to now see this radical shift back, and almost history repeating itself, World War II, on this global scale. And it's not these, you know, the Axis fucked up countries. It's not Russia. And you know, at some points during this year, I have looked at Russia like, how the fuck are they more progressive than we are? How are they making more fucking sense than we are? And that's when you know you're in fucking trouble. When you look at fucking Russia and you're like, wait a minute. It's not Russia, it's not Japan, it's not Italy that's like, yeah, fucking kill everyone, fuck it, we're white, it's right, you know what I mean? It's what was normally these progressive countries that, you know, fought for rights and wanted people to be free and to just have a basic understanding of just human happiness. The UK, the US, even Canada, dare I say. It's them that is regressing back into this fucking nationalism, racist, Christian, Puritan bullshit. And I think that is the more terrifying thing for me. It's not the fact that Donald Trump and Mike Pence are president, because you know fucking anybody can run. It's the fact that what we're shifting into is the fact that people voted for them. And it's not just our country. It's happening in countries around the world. Progressive, quote-unquote, first-world countries. It is happening in. Countries that have set the standard for human rights. Countries that have set the standards for equality are regressing back. And I don't know if this is a swan song of sorts. Of a dying generation that, you know, it's going to be a fucking bumpy ride, but hey, we got to fucking wait it out. Or if something kind of globally shifted, and I start to wonder if my generation, the fucked up progressive liberals that, want to see the world burn, quote unquote, if maybe we shoved our shit too down people's throats too quickly.
No.
And it kind of became this...
No, I've heard this discussion go on far too often, and I actually
desperate
just
grab.
got started on... I just got started on a little rant that I'm going to record later on in the next few days.
Well, what I'm saying is
But,
that, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
People need to stop sitting there and saying, well, maybe we shouldn't have called them racist and this, that, and the other. No, fuck.
No, I'm not saying that.
We do not need to be nice.
I'm not saying that.
No, I know. It's just something that's been sitting in
shit's gotta
the
get
back of
called
my
out.
mind.
What I'm saying is, you know how these fucking far rights talk about, safe spaces and shit like that, and how that's fucked up? Maybe we didn't give them their safe space to kind of transition. And we were just kind of like, fuck you, now you have to accept this. And yeah, it was for the greater good, but you have to admit that liberal progression kind of came rather aggressively around the world between the 50s and the 2000s. We're only talking about a 50-year fucking time span here. That, brought racial rights and women's rights and LGBT rights. And it did come very quickly. Not to say that it was
a whole lot of social change.
Right, not to say that it was bad that it came quickly, because it needed to happen. But what I think happened is that people don't like to fucking change. They like to talk about it. Like how people say, I'm going to save money every year, and I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to work out. And it's like, why do your resolutions fail? You know what I mean? It's because you put this radical change on yourself immediately, and you don't give yourself the time to transition into something completely different. And I wonder if that was why it's happening like this. And they are so terrified that things are changing so drastically that it's this fear grab. That, no, we have to preserve. And it's just out of fear of not it just changing too quickly. Not to say that it didn't need to happen that quickly, but, like, I wonder if, like, okay, we did, racial rights, and then we gave it, like, 20 years, 30, maybe 40 years, and then women's rights came in, if it would be... Because, I mean, we literally jumped a generation. So you've got, the generation before us that was like, fuck black people. They're fucking less than we are. Women are shit. Fucking being gay is a disease, and there's something mentally fucked up and wrong with you, and we can pray the gay away. To literally a generation later saying, no, this is fucked up, and we have to teach these kids differently. So now you've got these kids that are being told one way at home and being told another way in the world. And it's kind of like growing up in a cult or like a super religious household. That, it's like, okay, this is how life is, and this is what my parents taught me. And then they go to fucking college, or like kids that were kept on strict diets, and then they go to college and they eat all the fucking chocolate in the world and have the shits for like 2 months. Like the violent reaction to the change, because it was brought on too quickly. And I'm wondering if, it was our generation's inability to handle being thrown out into the world and saying, no, this is fucked up, when we had literal hundreds of thousands of years of being told differently. And it's not that we require safe spaces. Truth be told, the way I've seen some fucking conservatives react, y'all are the motherfuckers that need some fucking safe spaces, because y'all fucking...
That is the greatest I will admit, is like, it's them getting upset over freedom of speech.
Don't tread on me, the South will rise again, white is fucking right, get the immigrants out of my country. But if somebody doesn't stand for a fucking anthem, holy shit, fucking meltdown. Meltdown! And it's like, they basically now want to create a countrywide or worldwide safe space where people cannot do things they don't agree with. But you advocate that safe spaces are for pussies, yet you're literally trying to create an entire fucking world of fun. It's not even Donald Trump that fucking scares me. He's a fucking part of the puzzle of a much larger picture. It's not Trump and it's not Pence. It's the fact that if we took those puzzle pieces out, we can paint over the fucking missing hole. The entire fucking thought is still there, and it's rising, and it's gaining momentum, and it's not just in the United States. It's around the fucking world. Look at Europe. England literally told the fucking EU to go fuck themselves, which has never been done before. Article 50 has never been fucking called before. Why? On a platform of fuck the immigrants. And it's not even Arab immigrants. They're going against other white people. The fucking Poles. How the Poles are taking our fucking jobs and everything else. Like, they are so fucking nationally purified that they're literally going after white people at this point over there. You know, we fucking elected the undoubtedly most powerful fucking world leader that literally turned around and said he wants to put Muslim people on a fucking registry. Mexico is going to build a wall. Meanwhile, dumbass, they build tunnels. How the fuck is that going to work for you? Didn't think about that one now, did ya? He puts in a fucking VP that literally turned around and said that the movie Mulan was brainwashing our daughters into thinking they're fucking equal to men.
Yeah, how dare you uppity women folk not stay in the kitchen. Goddamn.
Exactly, but the issue is that it's not the fact that it's Trump and Pence. It's the fact that they put these fucking people in office. It's not about Brexit. It's the fact that people fucking voted for it. And it's the fact of that we put people like this on a world fucking stage, and it made us realize that we weren't as fucking progressive as we thought we were. We just scared the fucking shit out of them. And now that they have a fucking stage, there's nothing left. There's nothing left to push them back and say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't fucking do this because somebody's gonna fuck me up. Now, ain't nobody there's gonna fuck them up now. We, and I hate to say this, we, myself included, I think pushed too far too hard. And not to say that it didn't need to be done, but maybe it was done in the wrong way. Not to say that it should have taken longer, but maybe we were just as aggressive. You really can't fucking sit here and say that it's all the fucking right-wingers' fault, because it's not. Let me fucking tell you something. I've come across some liberals and I'm like, God, can I punch you in the fucking face? Shut the fuck up. Stop.
There are shitty people in all camps.
Right, and I think that we worldwide became so cookie cutter. Because that, you know, that was the ideal. We became so cookie cutter and kind of oppressed that we were all told that we all had to be the same. And this was the ideal life, and this is what you had to do when you had to get married and have 2.5 kids and have a great house in the suburbs and be with your company for 50 years and retire and go fucking sail the Bahamas and shit, that everyone felt really fucking oppressed for a long time on both sides. And when people become oppressed like that, the loudest and most radical voices are the ones that are going to get attention. And that's the reality of it. Look at World War II and Hitler. Hitler didn't turn around and come out and say, hey, guess what? I'm gassing the Jews. No, he didn't come out like that. He came out at a time after World War I where Germany was so fucking deep in debt, it was going to take them 100 years to pay it back. People were poor. They were fucking starving. And he was this loud, radical voice where no one else could step up. Same as Mussolini, same as Stalin. I think we just got this cookie cutter shit shoved down our throat so fucking much that when people went crazy, that's who we listened to.
Interesting thoughts. Before we head out tonight, I am going to hop on my soapbox for a little bit here.
I already did my soapbox issue. And we will be discussing other points in 2016 history, probably the next episode. I mean, there was the Colombian FARC agreement, there was Brexit, there was just so much shit that happened in the world this year. There was the global realization of Syria. There was the Russian hacking, which now we're laying sanctions on Russia, and we just threw out 35 fucking diplomats. Guess what? If 2016 sucked, 2017 we're all gonna fucking die. There's the Israeli settlement, where Israel was finally...
So Jen's optimistic.
Well, you know, Israel was finally told that, hey, your fucking settlements are illegal. You need to go back to 1967 borders. You ever have that point in time as an atheist where you look at the Bible and go, wait a minute? Especially Apocalypse. You ever have that moment? Where you kind of look at the world around you and you go, wait a fucking minute. This sounds awfully fucking familiar. And not to say that it put me in faith, but looking at that fucking UN ruling council, that scared the shit out of me. Ain't gonna fucking lie.
We'll talk more about that next time. Now into the Angry Dome I go.
Ta-da! Surprise, motherfucker!
Ooh, if anyone needs me, I'll be in the Angry Dome.
Hi, America. You can't see me waving, but I am, because I'm a friendly Canadian, and that's kind of how we do what we do. Anyways, I was kind of hoping we could sit down and have a little chat, because I'm kind of curious as to exactly what the fuck happened. You elected Donald Trump as your president? Are you serious right now? Like, what the actual fuck were you thinking? This is a man who normalized bigotry of the worst kind. He normalized racism. He normalized misogyny. He made it culturally acceptable to blame rape victims. Really? What was going on with that? I'm honestly at a loss for words for how this could have happened. Oh, you didn't like Hillary? Well, okay, fine. I don't particularly care for her either. Jill Stein doesn't really care for science. I mean, she thinks vaccines, fairly certain she's a little anti-vaccine, and she also thinks Wi-Fi gives you cancer, so there's that. Gary Johnson, he was a failed Republican turned libertarian, and I think we've kind of dealt with that subject, at least we have with our friends on Cellador Skeptics. And, I mean, Trump? Really? I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm just going to be fucking honest here with this whole thing. Right from the get-go, it was obvious. All Donald Trump was a cynical TV personality trying to prove that politics is a fucking joke. That all you have to do is cater to the right people, the right group of people, and you can win just about any fucking election being the biggest douchebag you can. And he proved it time and time again. He mocked disabled reporters. He was caught lying at every opportunity. Oh, I never said that. I never said those words. I mean, they're the best words, but I never said them. Like, really? Really? That guy? Oh, yeah, the guy who thinks it's okay to not have consent to grab women by the fucking vagina? And then never actually apologized because he realized it was fucking wrong. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I'm so glad that Hillary's emails and whatever little scandals she may have had were so much more important than stopping Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to kind of leave that where it is because I've got other things that I really kind of want to dig into. Because in the time since, we've had some time to digest, and a lot of people have done their reactions, and I'm not going to lie, here are some people that I want to hear stop getting fucking blamed for this. I want feminists to stop getting blamed for this. I want safe spaces to stop catching the blame for this. Trigger warnings? Really? We weren't nice enough? Are you fucking serious? Somebody is being a racist and we're not allowed to call them that because that will hurt their little feelings? No, They don't get to openly mock safe spaces and then try to profit off of them. That is hypocrisy of the worst fucking kind. And blaming illegal immigrants? Like, come the fuck on. It is so painfully obvious to any thinking person that Donald Trump knows all he has to do is speak something like that into reality, and it takes life. I mean, I don't know if it was him or InfoWars that first tweeted the bit about, 3 million illegal aliens in California voted for Hillary Clinton. Yeah, okay, we've seen that happen before with fucking Obama. And I also want to hear people shut the fuck up about millennials. I am so goddamn sick and tired of people trashing this goddamn generation that has been handed the single biggest, steamiest pile of shit of an economy, of a market. I think they're the same thing, so I've just killed my steam. But I am so sick and tired of millennials catching the blame because they're lazy, they're needy, they want participation trophies. Millennials never asked for those things. Let's just stop, and I want you to remember that. Millennials never asked for those things. Now, I'm going to bring an idea from evolution that I think is ultimately relevant in this. So, the genetics of our generation represent the most desired genetics from the previous generation. So, the ones that had the best fit. So, we're raised by our parents. Okay, so I hope you... Fuck. I've totally fucked that up. And I apologize. I'm very scatterbrained right now. So we are what represents the best of the previous generation's genetic material, okay? I think we're on the same page there. Now, we are also the byproduct of the same the environment that was created by the generation before us. Now, the predecessing generations always try to blame the new generations for all the problems because, God for fucking bid, they actually own up to the fact that they made a mistake. The ways they tried to rebel against their parents have completely fucked up the world. The lives they tried to lead, this whole everybody needs to be working 3 jobs in order to live idea. Sure shit didn't come from my generation, and our grandparents' generation had a living wage, did they not? They could live off of 1 income. Yeah, that was fun. So now I'm going to switch gears again, because I think my millennial rant is actually going to be a whole other thing unto itself, because I'm really fucking sick and tired of hearing about that, as I'm sure you've figured out by now. To an article that was shared to me by our friend, the podunk polymath Chris. You remember him from a few episodes ago. He actually tagged me in this because, token Canadian, what's up? And the article was about how Alberta supports Trump most, or has the most support for Trump out of any province. And it was about double. I think it was well over 40% when the rest of Canada showed just around 20. I'm linking the article in our show notes so you can take a quick peek for yourself. Because people in Alberta actually stand to benefit from Trump's presidency. I stand to benefit from Trump's presidency. He's pro-Keystone Pipeline. That would be very beneficial to the economy of my province. Alberta was once one of the most, if not the most prosperous economy in the fucking nation. And it was because of the oil industry. And don't get me wrong, the oil industry has so much to answer for. The emissions, the oil spills, pushing for, to keep or gas prices high, and I don't think that one's as big of an evil as I made it out to be. The people up at the top making tens, hundreds of millions of dollars every year off the back of blue-collar workers, and actively using every loophole they could to not only hold on to that wealth, but profit off of natural disasters such as oil spills. All the while, Alberta was getting shat on by the rest of the country. I'm not going to lie about that. Albertans, not 100% undeservedly, had a shitty reputation in the country. There's quite an air of arrogance about us. No argument here, believe me. And essentially, since the economy, the oil industry kind of flopped as it deserved to because it got too greedy, Alberta went with it. Our economy sucks now. We went from a conservative government for well over 40 years consecutively to now we're the complete opposite. And I don't particularly agree. We've actually just implemented a carbon tax, which I have my own issues with because I don't think that's really the most effective thing, but that's probably because I'm a little uneducated on the topic and there's more nuance to it than I'm thinking. But anyways, Albertans feel left out. For years, they carried the economy of this country. We were, or at least they were carrying a significant portion of the economy of this country. And now, all of a sudden, we have Justin Trudeau, who's backpedaled a little bit on a lot of his promises. He's pissed off a lot of Canadians in the process. And Albertans aren't really seeing an increase to the economy. So instead of focusing on the larger issues, the main focus is putting food on the table for their wives, husbands, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, kids, siblings. instead of focusing on the bigger issues, they're going to focus on at home first. And I can't say I blame them. I mean, I don't think that supporting Trump is the best way to go about that. And I'm not trying to justify the disgusting amount of support for Trump in my province. But I think there's something to be said for people who kind of feel forgotten, who feel like their nation turned its back on them. I mean, I'm not going to say all Albertans do, and that feeling is what contributed to 40% of people in my province supporting Trump. But I'm also not going to ignore it. I want to see my province succeed again. I want my dad to stop worrying about his job. I want my friends, my neighbors, people that I don't know. I want to see them succeed. And it's so damn difficult when you're in a province that's slowly wasting away. I think that's all I've got for tonight. So, thanks for bearing with me in my little dome of anger.
Now's the time our sprockets when we dawn. That's all the time we have. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen.
So that about wraps it up for yet another episode of Not Another Atheist Podcast. We want to thank you for sticking it out with us and bearing with our absenteeism. We are going to do our best to make sure we at least record small episodes a little more frequently. Hopefully that should help offset the fact that we haven't been around for a while and give you a little more.
And I will
daily,
try to. My kid's
thoughts.
going back to school soon. Granted, he's going to have off again in the middle of the month, but it does kind of help me. It does alleviate the stress of. I mean, we all know how the fucking end of the year goes. It's like it's great when you're a kid, and then as an adult, it's like I don't want to do this. Why does everything have to happen?
I don't want
You ever notice that? It's like
exactly.
it's like you're broke all year, and then it's the pressure cooker for the month. And yeah. So yeah, life should be settling back in for both of us. So yeah,
Fingers crossed. So with that, we want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you for
thank you for waiting out, man.
listenership.
Fuck, that's like
You have
family.
the best fans ever. And we're not just saying that because, we want you to come back.
She'll come out of her room eventually. She just has some shit to work through,
Yeah. Jen, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
good night.
Good night.
The Not Another Atheist podcast experience is run by Jen and Keith. If you wish to contact the hosts, please write to nehehp@gmail.com. They can be found at facebook.com/NotAnotherAtheistPodcast or search Not Another Atheist Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play to subscribe and leave reviews.
And I keep entering my old password for my phone, and I found out that from Connor, if you try to enter my phone with the wrong password, my phone shut down and you can't access it for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, Apple had the same thing for a little while there.
It's like, oh, okay.
And I used to mess with a friend of mine. I actually had her phone shut off for about an hour. It was great. Because I'm a dick like that.
Yeah, you're definitely bad. I'm still shocked that the History Channel made fucking Ragnar Lothbrok a fucking atheist. And it was confirmed. They did an interview with the actor that played him, and they were like, we're kind of weird about this. Is he an atheist? Did he find his faith at the end? Because they went through this whole conversation of questioning it and how he's going to make this speech before he dies about the God, not for himself because he doesn't believe it, but for his children because they do and his people do. And the actor turns around and he goes, no, he's an atheist. He goes, I'm a really big atheist, so I wanted to make sure that happened at the end. I was like, yes! Fucking atheist power in Hollywood. Thank you.
Well then.
Yes.
Alright.
I'm picking up my panties and I'm going home. Okay?